Hello Hero, it's Lucy Lannon. In the spirit of some of these shorter collective readings, just while I've got a bit of a sore throat, I thought I'd take a quick peep into your finances. Because this is a collective reading, not everything that I say will hit for you. It is very general. If you'd like something more specific, there is a Celtic Cross available in my shop that covers money, career, that kind of stuff, or indeed several of the readings there and elsewhere on the channel. I think there's some money stuff and career stuff covered quite extensively in the Marseille Minis A to Z Lucky Dip series, so you might want to check that out if this isn't for you. But for those of you for whom it is, I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of glitter in so that we're getting the gold flowing, if you feel me. Yes, I carry salt shakers of glitter around with me. Yes, I'm always covered in glitter. I just think it's important, right? So today we're going to use one from the Fallen Angels Oracle deck because they begged me, and I don't know why, but we'll see. That's first. Then we're going to use the Technobrae Tarot from Pixel Occult, the Mandalorian playing cards, and my DIY colour deck to finish off, just with one colour suggestion. It might be for branding, it might be for meditation, I don't know yet, I guess we'll see. Right, let's get you guys out of the way. Crystals today include amethyst, blue calcite, rose quartz and jade. So if any of those are things you've been drawn to working with, they might be a good idea for your finances. And I was particularly drawn to blue calcite, and when I did that, I don't know whether you saw it, but he wobbled a little, so there we go. That's the main one, I think. These weren't shuffling properly, do excuse me. Excuse me, I just want one and face them the other way. Right, gang, you were so keen to join in. And they're giving me two. Whatever. I'm not going to argue with Fallen Angels. It doesn't end well. Right, so we've got Vine, Danger, and we've got, oh no, we've got another one I can't pronounce. Laraje, Moderation. Laraje sounds like it couldn't possibly be the pronunciation, and I probably sound like a dickhead right now. But anyway, Danger, Moderation, and numerologically we have a 9 and a 4. So we're talking about some kind of lack of stability with you doing things on your own. I don't know whether this is like entrepreneurial, maybe you've sort of gone out on your own with finances, or whether it's that you've left a partnership or left a unit sort of in living quarters where you are financially secure. But there's something here about the instability around suddenly being on your Todd, as we say up north, that has left you a little bit financially immoderate, dare I say excessively spendy, and feeling like there's now an impending danger, like, oh fuck, what have I done? We've all been through it. And that's okay, right? We can wind back the clock of whatever mistakes you've made in terms of overspend or just overcautious kind of activity at the other end of the spectrum. I guess we'll see. But it strikes me that both of these cards have a very green tinge to begin with, and indeed it's that yellow-green of money where I live. So I think it's a positive start, even though we're describing a negative circumstance. But these ones were here to set the tone, really, and I'm not going to involve them further, even if they ask. Thanks, lads. So, let's, I want to say let's get into Mando first, actually, instead of Tarot. We'll do Tarot for this second row. I don't know why that would be, but it will separate itself into what I need to know. So, let's secure you some credits, shall we? In whatever space, outer rim or other that you work in currently. Let's just have a look what's going on. Ooh, come on. Right, can we have a few? Just let them fly. I'm not bothered, right? Yeah? I saw an inverted guy then. Who are you? Sorry, gang. They're being difficult, even after they asked to come out and play. What do you know? Come on. I want leapers. Oh, here's our inverted, starting us off. Do you want me to do inversions? Is that what you're trying to say? No, because it's, yeah, okay. Yeah, this deck doesn't, to my disappointment, it doesn't have many character cards, so I actually won't do reversals except for whatever that is, but, alright. Let's just check what's on camera, check what's not. Bum, 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 bum. Did I turn you? Did you turn you? What's going on here? Petal, please stay in one place. Right, 2 more, and then we'll get into tarot as well. Are you guys both? Yeah? Right. Thank you kindly, Mando. This is the way. Alright, so. Where you've got a Joker card in a financial reading, it's always going to be interesting, isn't it? Right, just going to meditate on these for a quick moment. I may even do a cut here, but if I do, you won't feel it. Excuse the sound, I'm having a sip of my tea. Alright, so just briefly, if you don't read playing cards or if you're confused by this very confusing deck, we've got a 7 of Wands, we've got a negative Joker in terms of astrological polarities, we've got a King of Cups, a 7 of Cups, and an 8 of Swords. There's something here about the feeling of somebody coming to collect, namely this figure over here. So I don't know whether if you have been a little bit immoderate in the past, there's something here about debt collection or about owing someone, or at least feeling that somebody within your close circle is about to ask you for money that is either owed or that they have entitlement to. I want to say entitlement just because it is this guy and he doesn't strike me as the most honourable type, right? That's whether or not in your particular case he is an establishment figure. I don't think he has the best interests of the public at heart with a face like this. I'm just going to show you up close so that you know what I'm getting at, right? Hope that's visible. I believe this King of Cups is Mando, so I think we can take this to be you, if I'm not reading that completely incorrectly armor-wise, but essentially there's somebody who's been trying to stay afloat, right? I think of the Smith-Waite deck and the fact that there's a person on a throne which is sort of by itself on water, so you may feel a little bit left out to sea by prior circumstances. And again, I'm taken back to this narrative which, if it doesn't resonate for you, this might not be your reading, but it's like somebody being turfed out of the area in which they're comfortable, whether that be a familial unit, a job, or just like out into the open somehow financially, and kind of left to their own devices and feeling like they're staying afloat for the moment, but if they were going to have to swim home, it wouldn't be great, right? There's a notable absence of pentacles in this, and pentacles is the financial suit in the deck, so already we've got a feeling of lack in that department, and there's not really much Wands energy coming in to make me think that there's new career ideas, new opportunities. You adapt for you, but I feel like this is less of a career reading and more just, please tell me what's going to happen with the money, because I'm afraid. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing with the tone of this and the tone of my guides, right? Because it's being very straightforward, but it's doing so in quite an addled, chaotic way. With the 8 of Swords coming in with the Armourer, I mean, the Armourer is a defensive way of expressing swords anyway. She could easily be a suit of fire, and perhaps other people read her that way in this deck. But I see it as being very martial and therefore very air-based and swordsy. I guess it depends whether you apply a more modern kind of post-thelemic interpretation of tarot or not, as to whether you think that the martial element is fire or air. But either way, she's kind of crafting something in order to defend herself, but not necessarily for financial gain or indeed for the gain of self or tribe, right? Yes, the armor benefits Mandalore or Mandalorians as the kind of new collective, but also she's a bit of a shifty figure, particularly in the last series. And whilst it's beneficial from a religious and traditional perspective, which may be something that's factored in for you, the way that she's doing things is actually just primarily a form of defense. And with a Seven of Wands coming in as well, it's like you're fighting off something here. You're trying to be strategic, trying to be crafty, trying to be skilled in order to dissuade somebody who's coming to collect. That's my main feeling with this. And with a Seven of Cups coming up as well, it's like too many options at the moment. There's too many ways that you could take this, and I think that you might feel quite overwhelmed by that, whether that's in terms of job opportunities or just things you could possibly say to this person or to this establishment or whatever it is that's kind of coming to call. I mean, for some of you, this could even be a relative that's hard up for cash and always asks you, but it's like there's this energy of you crafting a response before it happens. And I want to point that out because it hasn't happened yet, right? It's interesting to me that there's all this anxiety and all this defensive energy, yes, in a Mandalorian deck, but also just in general. And it's like, yeah, but they haven't actually been banging on your door yet. So it's, I think the tarot stuff will be interesting to come in, right? Do I want to say anything else about? I feel like this person could be a woman or could have like a feminine energy, just because this is the yin aspect to the Joker. There are two Joker cards in the deck and I take them as kind of mages / trickster figures, or like problematic people in that sort of a sneaky ass way. And because there's two, there's, like I say, the negative astrological polarity and the positive, and this one's very much the negative, which, no shade on women, but that means yin, right? Negative in the sense of receptivity rather than sort of more solar energy. So it may be that this person is very lunar in appearance, or they go about things in an indirect way, dare I say a passive aggressive way for some, or they're literally a woman. So that's your confirmation if you were a bit like, yeah, I don't know though. Why am I turning that one over before that one? Are you in the wrong order? Come on, gang. Again, lots of reversals. Let's just check the deck. No, we are good for that. Although I'm going to just shuffle it again to put some more uprights in because I'm not convinced by this. We need some other stuff than reversals. There's also, in doing that shuffle, I've kind of done it ass backwards, which is not the first time for it to happen with this deck. Again, a reversal. I feel like you're just generally discombobulated. For some, I'm seeing somebody like in a sort of matriarchal position, running around after a family, trying to dress the kids for school, trying to get stuff for work, trying to make sure that the car's serviced in time, etc., etc., just in order to make the day function with a bit more ease. And I think that financial worry is playing into that chaos a little too much at the moment. But I don't think it's sufficient for me to be like, someone wants to collect your money. You're having a bad financial time. So let's try and get a bit more detail that actually pulls you out of this energy, instead of me just saying, yes, it's a problem. Funnily enough, you've come to a financial reading because that stuff ain't great, right? Okay, again, going to meditate on it. There might be a cut. All right, first up with these, I want to say that you've got another defensive energy and it's a 7. So we're echoing everything up here again. I wanted to bring you a solution with this, and I promise you I will, even if it's more cards. But what I'm getting again is just a very vivid picture of what it's like for you at the moment. So I feel like if you do any kind of work on your self-concept, your inner circumstance, your mindset around finances, where you learnt certain messages about money, be that parentally or through circumstance later on or whatever, all of that is playing into this situation a lot more than you're giving credit for, right? The movement in the outer is only going to happen when the inner is not necessarily reconciled, but at least understood. And there's a lot speaking to that sort of over here. So firstly, circumstantially, this break away from something in the past that was described by the angel cards very well is literally, for many of you, a break from tradition. So two narratives. I'm getting either the dissolution of a marriage and resultant kind of financial crisis and maybe stuff being owed as part of that process, maybe a divorce. For others, I'm getting that this is leaving a group, a community, perhaps like a work environment, but in terms of your peers, not in terms of the job, because of, I want to say religious differences, but that might be too specific because this is general, but it's like the traditionalism of a certain setup or the way that a certain job was operating for you is just not your vibe anymore at all. And there may have been things that you morally disagreed with. And I'm right there with you. I've walked out of, I could at least remember one job before where I realised that elderly people were being conned. And this is with a very major company. I don't want to, I want to say it's an energy company, but I'm not going to go further than that in case any of you are in the UK, because I don't want to directly invite a boycott that may get me sued. But let's just say they didn't have the nicest policies in terms of the people that they were targeting and why. And as soon as this became clear to me as then a salesperson many, many, many years ago, I walked. And I think a similar situation has happened for you, where there's something going on that hasn't been altogether clear, but I see that this, you know, the Hierophant figure and indeed the acolytes are all masked in this, are all veiled. There's something going on with subterfuge here, or with policies that were not altogether clear to you at the beginning, whether they be in terms of religious doctrine or intention on the part of another person, or intentions for a company and how they would make their money. And as a result, you've gone, whoa, I didn't realise that was happening. Yeah, fuck you guys. And there is an extra nonconformist energy on this as well, because this symbol is reminding me of Genesis, oh God, what's the name? The Psychic Bible anyway, and these words, Psychic TV, all that stuff. It's reminding me of that symbol, which to me is heavily countercultural. It's a step right over to the other side of what you were experiencing before. So there's a really extreme leap here from conforming to the expectations of surroundings in a big way to just absolutely doing whatever is the direct opposite for a while, out of rage about that thing, is what's coming across. And then with the Two of Swords in reverse, there's many different interpretations to this, but what I'm getting is a refusal to decide on what comes next, because it was more pertinent to just go. So for those of you for whom this is leaving a relationship and getting a bit sort of financially stuck in the mud or something like that, this is, no, I just need to be away from this person. I need to be out of this environment, and it sort of doesn't matter what happens next, so I refuse to decide right now. Which is fine, and particularly if you were escaping a situation that was abusive in any way, or indeed one in terms of profession that was taking advantage of other people. I absolutely applaud you on getting away from that as fast as you can for your own safety and the safety of others. However, it was not just an initial response. We're seeing it carry through to the rest of the deck. We've got, after the indecision, or lack of willingness to decide, should I say, a refusal to reflect as well, particularly on how this will affect your finances. So, I mean, I'm not coming for you, but for many of you, whatever this big shift has been, and the reason that you're so frantic about it now, is because at the time that it was happening, it seemed so important to get out of a certain circumstance that you didn't fully consider the effect on your abundance. And that was, on some level, a choice, right, on your part. And I think part of your panic emotionally is that you're realizing it was a choice, and you're sort of, I love you, I'm sorry, but you're sort of in the space of, I don't want to have to justify this to anybody because I know that I made a decision that was a bit hasty financially, right? That doesn't mean it was hasty in terms of what you did. I do fully believe that you, that I'm getting this is the way, right? You went in what seemed the correct direction for you, for your intuition, for your safety, stability in other realms, right? But financially, there was a refusal to decide, a refusal to reflect. And now it's a little bit like you're up shit creek without a paddle, my dude. Because the Hanged One in reverse is, well, firstly, I'm seeing this sort of harness she's wearing as an incomplete pentacle. So it's like the safety net finances under you to potentially make this decision were not altogether there, right? You didn't have something to leap to, but you did it anyway, and that's, you know, it's whether it's fine or it's not, we're here, so we're going to deal with it together. But with it being an energy of stagnancy in the reversal, this is sudden movement of something that has been in a period of stagnancy for a long time. So with the divorce narrative, for just some of you, this has been something that's been talked about for a while, almost to the point where it's like, yeah, it'll happen one day, but now suddenly, in a very material way, the financial repercussions of it have been felt. The immediacy of the process has suddenly accelerated. I'm hearing Bill Nelson acceleration in my head. I don't know whether that's a confirmation thing or just some of you like exceptional music, but great song anyway. But yeah, it's like, I'm not going to make a decision on this. I'm not going to look at the fact that I don't really have anything to back me up on it. I'm just going to do it, and consequences will come later, but this is more important. And then now, it's almost like I'm meeting you at the point where that period of leaving that thing has passed, whether it's a job or whatever, and you're now in like, oh shit, this is catching up with me today. This is worrying me this week. This is why you've sort of stumbled on a financial reading. Maybe even you were Googling stuff to do with finances and tarot, I don't know. But I feel for many of you watching, this is a state of emergency. And that's not to alarm you if you don't feel like that. It's just to suggest that maybe the reading is more for people for whom it's become quite extreme in a short time. Or indeed it's a warning if you know that you're in some kind of prolonged process like this, that shit is about to heat up. And yes, people will be coming to collect. And yes, you might have to think of something crafty to say to that. Because the decisions that were made, although they weren't necessarily the wrong ones, they weren't made with a financial focus. And that's why your focus is returning to it here. And I think your fear, the thing you're sort of semi-looking away from in an escapist way, is this justice. So I don't know whether this is legal repercussion. Perhaps there are bills that haven't been paid, or kind of things that haven't been signed on time, further charges accrued to things, or indeed like a debt plan that is just unmanageable because it's been, you know, furthered or sort of pushed to the side for a little while you found your feet emotionally and in terms of your new surroundings and stuff. But it's almost like underneath all of this, like, yeah, I didn't really decide, did I? I didn't really sort of plan financially. There is this deep fear of like, and now justice will be done. And in this case, you are afraid that it will be done to your detriment, right? There is also an echo in this that you won't get your eventual wish because of whatever this factor is. And I think, you know, for those of you who maybe left a marriage or left a job that was unsatisfactory or something that was causing you like pain, there is a fear almost that you won't ever feel the relief of having left that circumstance, because immediately the money stuff will hit, and maybe the life that you visualised for yourself in the act of leaving kind of can't come about when these financial things are going on for you. Which brings us back round to the sort of energy of defensiveness, this warlike thing. The facial covering, to me, for some of you it's like a Rona thing. I don't know how that would relate, but it might be that there was a setback or a delay indeed in the consequences of the process because of the pandemic. But the other interpretation of facial covering again is echoing this. It's like being hidden, being sneaky. It's wearing a mask of some kind. And because it's under this depiction of the armourer, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have to be really crafty about how I handle this. So what I want to know is, with this fear of this justice card, with all of this emotional turmoil coming into a reading that should be more pentaclesy and practical, and indeed the only pentacles we've got is in the reverse, Like, what is the actual material consequence in terms of the Justice card? Are we going to have to face up to this? Or is it more that your fears are running away with you? This one wants to come out. I'd like 3, please. That one. Yeah, for many of you, there is a family involved in this. It's not just you that's like facing whatever consequences. And there is one that's fallen on the floor, so I'm going to take that in a minute as a kind of clarifier. So we've got the Hermit reversed, the 10 of Cups in the upright, so that's a good sign, and then the 10 of Wands in reverse. So yeah, I think you're going to be all right. I think there's a release of burden here that is directly related to familial life, for those of you where that hits, or to the improvement of your love life, social life, etc., your kind of chosen tribe, after the worst of this is over, or after the immediate handling of it, hopefully when you've seen this reading. And I think that a good deal of the releasing of burdens, etc., and I do see this figure as being the same as this one, so that may hit, but the path towards that is actually this Hermit reversed, which is returning to community, family, or friends in some kind of concrete way. Sorry, I'm just checking that I'm holding it up in a way you can see, right? Hermit reversed is often about getting back out there, coming down from being the hermit on the mountain with your thoughts, with your fears sometimes, and returning into sort of polite society. And I think that this is an indication to seek help about this problem. And I don't just mean from me, although thank you for coming and watching this today. This may be that you have family members who have previously been reliant on you that you can maybe call in a favour with, because I'm noticing it overlaps with this, right? So this narrative about having somebody that's always needing something from you, okay, but do they pay up in return? Because it's okay to ask for that. And where that doesn't hit, and this is much more a situation which refers to literal legal justice or perhaps like governmental pressures, etc., I think that seeking somebody else's advice on this is going to be the difference between winning and losing, or staying afloat and not, right? This is you keeping your ship in the air in terms of its crossover with the Mando stuff. So yeah, I think seek help, admit that the decisions that you've made thus far, they've not been bad decisions. I don't want to chastise you for them, because I think it was necessary to move away from whatever this is. Just a sec, because my ring's glowing at me, which means my friend Jeannie wants to speak. She's saying a very Jean thing, which is you can't always do right by everyone, right? So yes, this is agreement that it was absolutely the correct move for you, whether or not you're being a little bit ostracised for making that decision, and indeed for the financial consequences. I get the feeling for some of you, if family is involved, there may be an accusation from the less supportive people in your life, who, by the way, are probably all projecting their own stuff, that you have made a selfish decision, or that it wasn't fair for you to make a decision which affects the finances or indeed the stability of other people, particularly dependents. If you have been facing those sort of criticisms, the message from who I'm speaking to is that it's not an entirely accurate representation of you. Yes, this was a decision made in haste. Yes, it has some consequences, but it doesn't make you a selfish person, nor is it the wrong decision necessarily, just because it does have inevitable financial consequence. And I think that some of your stress will be relieved by discerning the kind of distinction between I made a bad decision on some level and I'm a bad person, and also the distinction between this is a bad decision because the finances are not so great after it versus this is just a bad decision, right? Because there are benefits. I think you wouldn't have had the fallen angel input and this is your kind of first card if it wasn't in some way correct. It's just that you couldn't reconcile the complete picture with whatever that was, and you feel that you're now paying the price. But I do think if you seek outside help, that won't necessarily be the case. For those of you who are in the UK, if this is legal, governmental, to do with those Tory shits, etc., please do reach out to a free organisation like Citizen Advice. If I remember, I'll try and put the link in the comments. And if anybody's commenting from another country where they know of a similar organisation who offer like free legal advice, free financial advice to those who are in a pickle, please do comment any kind of contact details to those people, so that if somebody's watching this and they happen to be in your area, they can look up sort of the nearest resource to them. For some of you, yes, it's family or friends or something. Maybe you're sleeping on someone's couch. Maybe you're calling in a repayment of something you lent out. But for many, it is more sort of establishment based. So I want this to be a bit of a resource for people in a practical sense as well. And I can't cover that on a global sense, but you guys can, because you guys are magic, right? Final kind of clarifier, we've got a Queen of Cups. So it's interesting because this is the counterpart to the King energy, but it's also kind of a matriarchal figure who's got her shit sorted. And you remember earlier I mentioned a matriarch of a family sort of being hassled. That doesn't mean I'm projecting onto what your gender is or whether you have a family. It's just like a really good analogy for how discombobulated you're feeling at the moment. And what I feel is the message from this Queen of Cups is in the upright is that in that analogous situation, suddenly the matriarch is gaining control again. Suddenly it's starting to flow better. There's a debt plan in place, or there's a letter being written to the relevant people, or the divorce is going forward, but with a little bit of extra legal help from somewhere unseen, or a bit of advice that's really crucial. You know, you do you. This will adapt for many people. Please let me know in the comments how it adapts to you. But what I will say is that there is a feeling of having this managed, and it's almost as if the energy coming in, rather than being a Queen of Cups sign, is like a Capricorn. No, I can do this. I can see the utility in the way that things have happened so far. I can see what's been beneficial about it, and I can use it in a very systematic way to reach my goals of financial independence and to regain the stability that I once had without harming anybody else or diminishing my ability to make decisions for myself. Because I feel almost that the other thing I want to tell you is that this isn't a sign that you can't be self-reliant. And I think with what Jean was saying, and indeed with my own sort of very personal experiences, there's a sense that there's someone in your life who's telling you that if you can't solve this money problem as a result of what you've done, it means you're incompetent, or it means you're incapable, or it means you're underqualified, or a bad mom, or a bad dad, or a bad person. Whatever the fuck they may want to say, my feeling on that is that they're saying it for supply. They're saying it to trigger you into some kind of reactivity that in some fashion benefits them. And that can be for all kinds of reasons. It can be a jealousy thing, a narcissism thing. It can be because they want your position in career. It can be because they wish they'd made the non-financial decisions in your life that you've made. There's all kinds of reasons for people to throw shade in that way that seems protective at the time or in the language they use. But what I want to tell you is, fuck that person off. They don't know shit, right? They weren't in your position to have to make the decisions that you made. And indeed, in a similar position, I actually think it would be the logical perspective to do a very similar thing. It's just that perhaps there could have been a bit more reflection on what it is that would be your safety net after this process was done with. So, we're going to finish up with one of my DIY colour cards. This may seem really counterintuitive, but trust me when I say that they are... Right, which one is it? Because it's one of these two. It's this one. Okay. Green blue tint. That is super interesting. This is reminding me to do another stage as well. I was going to use my D12 with you. So green blue tint is interesting to me because in combination, some of your crystals would make a kind of green blue tint. For those who, don't speak Munsell, this is aqua, paler turquoise, kind of I even want to say like hospital green, or like the colour of Jasmine's trousers in Aladdin if they were paler. You know what I'm missing? Considering we're using a fucking Mandalorian deck, your green blue tint might be the exact colour of Grogu's skin, right? Now, this is a colour you could use for branding. This is a colour you, I think, could put around you to great benefit, whether you're wearing it, you're using it in your environment, in your stationery, in some other kind of kit for your job, if that's something you can choose. You know, I'm getting an image of somebody now who's in a therapeutic setting, and they're changing their sort of, oh, what's it called? But they're like nurse-like outfit that you wear if you're a masseuse or something like that, and they're opting for the green-blue one in this case. So, you know, sort of altering your environment to include this colour. But also a great exercise if you don't have any time or money to put towards any of that, and you're not rebranding yourself in any way, is to look for green-blue tint in terms of positive synchronicities in this like person that you turn to. And also, if you are somebody who falls asleep doing visualization in a positive sense, or who has trouble sleeping or anything like that, visualizing the Grogu colour flowing through you, sort of as you're drifting off, or flowing through this situation, healing it, right? Almost like when you pass white light through the body to get rid of any tensions and stuff, sort of prior to a deeper meditation. I want you to do that, but with the colour of Grogu. And if you're not a Mandalorian fan, then just know that it's almost the equilibrium between these two crystal colours. It's a kind of very pale bluish green. Now, the one thing I wanted to do when I didn't know what kind of reading this would be, other than financial and career, is to take a look at an aspect of your life that might benefit this realm. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to come up. And I do have a prediction, but we'll check that out. Okay, so we've got 4th house, right. 4th house is to do with home, family, early life, nurturing qualities, Cancerian issues in general, lunar stuff, menstrual stuff. It's to do with feeling like you're in a family, if that's a chosen family. It's to do with like the home unit or the house in some cases. And when I say house, I'm hearing how it's pronounced in the companion album to House of Leaves, which is a long-winded way of saying that the environment you're in may hold more potential for you at the moment than is immediately visible, right? For those of you who are familiar with that whole thing, there may be a 5.5-minute hallway door that you haven't seen yet in a much more positive way than is described in that book, right? There's a kind of opening somewhere in the home or in the family unit. Again, for some, this will literally translate to the person you can turn to about this is a family member or is a partner within a family unit. But if that's not ringing true, look to resources that you already have at home in a very literal sense, or look to things about your immediate home environment, even if your couch surfing in that environment's changing as a result of all this. Look to what's in the room with you, right, in a very literal, direct way. I would absolutely love to know, for anybody who's comfortable, what hit, what didn't, what your kind of circumstances are and how they might relate to any of this, what your relationship to your house, your home, your Grogu energy is, and what your feelings are on me kind of leaving it here. If you want anything more in depth, or you want to answer a really specific question that I've sort of piqued your interest with this, absolutely book with me in the link down below, or do check out particularly the Lucky Dip readings in the playlist on my channel. Please subscribe for more content like this that just comes out of the blue with whatever you need. Share if you think it's relevant to anybody else, possibly, you know, within your unit experiencing the same circumstances. And I will see you in the next one, which I think may be love adjacent, and then in the one after, which I think is the next lunar. All right, so I'll catch you later. You've done the right thing. You've just done it in a bit of a strange way. This will be resolved. Turn to the people close to you. All right, take care of yourself.